Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. We like to move quickly through these calls and bottom line the information for you. Over the last few weeks, so we've done these calls a little differently. We have dispensed with a detailed and in-depth review of the turnkey program we've put in place to assist you and the Q&A thereafter, and just dealt with the situation as it exists in Iraq and with the reinstitution of their currency. We decided we were going to do this on a week-to-week basis based on the situation and the amount of work that we've been provided with. And again, this week, this is going to be a shorter call. For those of you calling in for the first time or would kind of like to review our program, I strongly suggest after this call, you go to our call of March 3rd. You can go either to YouTube or IQD calls. You can get that call. It has an interesting Q&A, and of course it has a detailed explanation of the turnkey program, both pre and post RV, that we put in place for you. But today we're going to talk about the situation in Iraq and the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar, which we continue to believe is the base currency for the potential reset of some of these other pre-valued currencies. So let's go ahead and get into this information. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other pre-valued currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information that we think is relevant. And of course, the most relevant piece of information would be the window for the potential reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. There are things going on in Iraq. But the best window I can put together right now based on the information, and it's a wider window, is between April 1st and May 15th. Now, I say that for two reasons. One reason is there is some confusion and some disagreement going on within the government of Iraq, which, of course, for those of us who have been involved in this for any length of time, at this point it's expected. The other thing is we really want to see a revaluation on or before May 15th, because that means the taxes on this revaluation would not be due until July 15th. That would give us 60 days to either hold the currency because it's coming out in an initially low float, and or compel the IRS to give us written confirmation of what the tax implications of this revaluation are, both in and out of the trust. So let's talk about what's going on in Iraq. Passage of the budget is scheduled for this Saturday, but in my opinion, passage on Saturday is at best a toss-up because there are some concerns. One is that certain of the blocks have some technical issues with the budget, but as I had alluded to weeks ago, the problem is Kurdistan. And unfortunately, whenever we get close to the consummation of the process, the Kurds come up with some rationale for postponing. This time, the Kurds want to see an adjustment in the revenue in the oil and gas law from the 17%, which was agreed to now 23%. And the reason is the restitution or additional cost that's needed to implement Article 140 of their Constitution. What is Article 140? Basically, it's the de-Arabization of the Kurdistani region. Why is that necessary? Well, when Saddam was the president of Iraq, and I'm sure all will remember, he basically attempted literally the genocide of the Kurds and replacing them with his with his cronies, and not the Sunnis, but the I'm having a senior moment here. The Sunnis to replace the Kurds, and now that the de-Arabization has been established in the Kurdistani region, the Kurds, as they always have at the 11th hour, have decided they need much more money in order to accomplish Article 140 of the Constitution. Now, Baghdad's response is that the additional money that they need should come from their failure to honor Article 8 of the Constitution. What is that? That are the dues that the federal dues that the Kurds should have been paying to Baghdad all the way back to 2002, before the removal of Saddam Hussein. And as I suggested a couple weeks ago, the solution to the problem is to utilize the additional revenues that they are now enjoying with the precipitous increase in the cost of a barrel of oil, which has more than doubled in the last 90 days. They did not anticipate that revenue flow, so they should come to some agreement to use that increase to cover not only the dues, but the additional money necessary for the de-Arabization restitution for the Kurdistani region. The second issue of disagreement has to do with the exchange rate. Of course, the dinar has lost value substantially against the U.S. dollar. Now, the CBI continues to argue that the reason that they have devalued the provisional 3-0 currency is because they need to collect the rest of it before they reinstitute their currency. And basically what they're saying is if you continue to hold that currency, it's only going to devalue further. So you're better off to exchange it for the U.S. dollar now. However, many Iraqi citizens are very distrustful of the bank. They've been hoarding their currency. They're afraid to go to the banks and exchange it. And, of course, they're concerned because of the inflation that's caused. Now, technically, it's not inflation. It's a reduction in the purchasing power of the dinar, the provisional dinar. It's not unlike the U.S. dollar. We keep referring to the increased price of goods and services and physical assets as inflation, but in reality, what it really is the devaluation of the fiat currency because the central bank keeps printing it. So if the amount of currency over the last 100 years has increased by 1,000%, but the goods and services have only increased by, say, 25%, you have many more dollars chasing a virtually static amount of goods and services. What's the result? The currency has devalued, and that's a concern. The other disputes within the parliament itself. There are individuals and some scholars that say, pursuant to Article 41, Paragraph A of the Iraqi Constitution, the parliament can unilaterally bypass the CBI and adjust the exchange rate. However, the Parliamentary Finance Committee that the parliament set up to basically husband the CBI is saying, no, we don't think that you can do that. So these are all of the things that are postponing the passage of the budget. Now, can the currency reinstitute without the passage of the budget? Yes. Can and should the currency probably reinstitute at the same time as the passage of the budget? Yes, probably. Can the currency reinstitute after they pass the budget at the lower exchange rate? Yes. Can they reinstitute the currency after they have passed the budget at the lower inflation rate and begun to make governmental expenditures at the lower rate? Yes, but that's much more problematic, and we don't want that to occur. So what, in my view, we're looking at is a postponement of the budget passage and the postponement of the resolution of the exchange rate for the next couple of weeks. But that will not, in my opinion, stop the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar within the window of April 1st, which is tomorrow, and May 15th, which again is the date we need to see the reinstitution in order to avoid an investment, an exchange, and a tax issue beyond that date. Now, I want to make one other point, and it's this. Over the years, people have called in at our Q&A and said that they've been told that people are exchanging currencies, and I'm going back 5-6 years ago, and on occasion since then. And my response has always been the same. Until someone shows me the exchange transactional document that a bank will give you when you do an exchange and showed me the deposit of the USD in their bank, I'm just not going to believe it. Now, I've been told recently, not by one, but by two people whom I trust and who have given me accurate information in the past, that they have been told that certain American political figures have already exchanged their currency. Now, I don't know if that's the case. It was my expectation that when this currency revalues, the quote-unquote VIPs are going to automatically go to the front of the line. I expected that. That's the way it always seems to be, no matter what we're discussing. But if it is in fact true that there are individuals in the United States that have already exchanged their currency or have an appointment to do so, well, for those of us that have been holding currencies for some length of time, that's absolutely infuriating. The only good thing about that, if it's true, is that the anywhere from 7 to 8 million Americans that are holding currencies, if we ever get wind of this, our objective is to make sure that we either go to the bank and get the same deal that these individuals got, or we make sure that every dime of that money is clawed back, because that is absolutely unacceptable. And all of this stuff has to stop. So I'll get off the soapbox right now. That just really irritated me. When one person told me, I kind of blew it off, but when a second person told me, that that got my ire, and I'm concerned about that. I'm going to check out a little bit more to the extent that I can. Once again, for those of you calling in for the first time, I apologize that we're not getting into the program in depth. You can go to our March 3rd call. The reason for this, I didn't make this clear earlier in the call, is because we've been inundated with service requests and trust requests. Right now, I have anywhere from 25 to 30 people that I still need to contact, even though I've been on the phone nonstop. It'll take the rest of the day for me to address their issues. And, of course, as I do that, another 20 or 30 calls may come in. So we have to make sure that our existing clients and individuals that are actually applying for our trust program have an opportunity to do so. Of course, a lot of the hysteria has been because people expected the revaluation, the reinstitution of the dinar to happen literally any day. It theoretically could, but based on the situation with the budget, we're looking, in my opinion, a couple of weeks out from that. So that does give us a window to try to get some of this stuff done. When you go to our call on March 3rd, you should be able to get our contact information, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you here today. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. Again, if you'd like to listen to a recent conference call playback, and I suggest our March 3rd call, you can go to YouTube and then go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can go to IQD calls and go to Trusts Unlimited. If you want to be included on our email list, you go to our website, which is, again, trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. Go to the bottom, enter your name and email address where indicated. You should be on our email list within 24 hours. Bear in mind that we only send emails out very periodically pre-RV. but after the reinstitution of the dinar, emails with valuable information should be going out on a weekly basis. So again, thanks so much for listening to the call. We will be back next Wednesday. Certainly if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call, or at least put an announcement on our website. Failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Bye-bye, everyone, and thanks for listening.